Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Rules Horror. Story 1. Rules for Aunt's House. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. Welcome my dear cousin. You've reached the ripe age of 12. How monumental. This does mean some things have changed for you and there are new rules to follow. Don't worry. Your dear oldest cousin will guide you. And remember how she looked so sweet and unassuming? How she was short and round and always made those delicious blueberry pies and always wanted to talk with you. That's not the real her. She chooses to look and act like that because she doesn't want to scare the youngers. Important, for the love of all that is holy. Don't comment on how she changed. Yes, her neck is longer than what should be human. Don't point it out. If you do, refer to the bottom text of the entire rule list. Unless it's urgent, don't talk to her. She's not as happy to talk to you now that you're 12. Don't talk to the littles unless they do first. Aunt would rather you stay with your age group. Important. 4. When you do talk to her, refer to her as Aunt I or Aunt anything else and refer to the text at the bottom of these rules. Night. Remember how the only rule when you were 11 or younger at night was to be in bed by 9 p.m. Yet it's different for us older kids now. Be in your or someone else's room by 11 p.m. I know, sweet, right? Important. 2. Some nights we have sibling/cousin nights. These nights all of us that are 12 or older go to someone's room and just talk, raid the fridge and pantry at 10 p.m. and have a general good time, but only if Aunt I will allow it. The last time we did it without her permission, she had something to say. Important. 3. If you're outside of your or someone else's room after 11 p.m., refer to the rules at the bottom of this list. Important. 4. If you're too loud, she'll walk into the room you're in and let you off on a warning. If you do it again, refer to the rules at the bottom of this list. Consequences. Unfortunately, you disobeyed one of the important rules. We can't help you now. Here's what to expect and what will happen to us, your parents, and anyone else you know. We will forget you exist. In fact, you don't anymore. Aunt will want to talk to you. Don't try to fight her. That just gives you a longer and more painful death. Let's just say those delicious blueberry pies she made very rarely are you and anyone else who disobeyed. If you get a quick death, she just makes you drink something that makes you fall asleep so you won't be in pain. For the slow death, she just skips the drink and starts the process of making you into a delicious blueberry pie while you're still conscious. When you finally die. When you get bit into by one of us at dessert. Hopefully you follow all the rules so you don't read the consequences tab. Have fun. It's a sibling/cousin night tonight. Aunt allowed it. Story 2. Camp Rules. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. Rule number 1. Never leave your cabin after dark. He lurks in the woods. He is always waiting. Rule number 2. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers. The last camper who did is still missing. Rule number 3. Keep your campfire burning all night. It's the only thing that keeps them away. Rule number 4. Never speak the name of the forest's ancient guardian. You might summon it. Rule number 5. If you hear a child's laughter in the middle of the night, don't follow it. It's not what it seems. Rule number 6. Do not enter the abandoned cabin at the edge of the lake. There are things in there that hunger for company. Rule number 7. Always check your shoes before putting them on. You never know what might have crawled inside overnight. Rule number 8. Avoid the path marked by twisted trees. Those who walk it face consequences. Rule number 9. If you see a shadow figure by your bunk, pretend to be asleep. It might go away. If not, go to sleep immediately. Rule number 10. Never, ever look into the mirror in the old washroom after midnight. You will be visited by a non-friendly guest. Story 3. When the Sky Rained Blood. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. A month ago. The sky started raining red about a month ago. At first, it was startling, but nothing more than just an odd phenomenon that nobody could make sense of. We all went inside and carried on with our day from there, expecting things to return to normal soon. We all made a mistake. Blood never stopped pouring from the sky, but worse, it became something else. Something worse. Each droplet converged with those around it to create creatures that stalked the outside. Nobody dared exit their homes, except for a few of the brave and foolish, who would soon become mutilated examples of why we all decided to stay put. The world turned upside down a month ago. It's not just a bloody rain, but everything is going rotten. Venturing outside for food or clean water is difficult with the entities who don't let anything escape their sight, and any non-bottled water is contaminated. Hope isn't a word that exists nowadays. By some stroke of luck, however, we have one saving grace. Electricity, which is how you can read this note that's been sent out to whoever can see it. We've survived long enough to create some rough guidelines on what can and cannot be done, and in these times, anything is better than nothing. Follow this guide and you should be fine, but please, don't let your guard down or get complacent. Basic Survival. Rule 1. First, don't drink any water that wasn't in a bottle before the rain. Most if not all of it has been tainted red by the rain, and every person who drank it is no longer with us. From what we've been able to gather, drinking the water will lead to a person's blood draining out, before they inevitably die and are resurrected as one of the entities that stalks the lands. Do not drink the water. Rule 2. Food that is overly tainted red has likely been contaminated by the rain. The same rules apply to this as it does to the water. Avoid eating food that is abnormally similar in appearance to blood, and try sticking to foods that have been secured in containers or tight wrapping. Rule 3. You may keep the lights on or make as much noise as you wish, as long as it stays in the house. The creatures of the rain do not seem to be particularly sensitive to noise or light, and will not attack your house as long as you remain inside. Rule 4. Those who venture outside however cannot touch the rain. Anything that touches the rain which breathes will immediately catch the attention of every single creature of the rain. It was what happened with the first who wandered outside. They seem to be permanently marked, and no matter how far they go, those touched by the rain will not escape the creatures created by it. Rule 5. Try to ration your remaining food. Going out into the rain is extremely dangerous, and since there's no information about when the rain will end, it's best to assume that you are going to need all the food you have. Wasting food won't just end badly, but may lead to your death. Rule 6. Voices are reported to have been heard by certain people, ordering them to return to the rain or join the creatures that have appeared. If you hear these voices, please ignore them. We do not know what the purpose behind them is, or who they are from, but we do know that what they advise you to do will likely end with your death. Rule 7. If you happen to bleed by any chance, whether it be from your nose or by a cut, immediately locate a container, find napkins or some other fabric that can absorb blood, and try to keep the blood from your wound in that container. You must keep doing this until the wound has stopped bleeding, and must seal the container after you are finished. To allow any blood to touch the ground will alert the creatures, and though we do not understand the reason why, we do know that alerting the creatures will end with your death. We've struggled through the red rain for a month so far, and though nothing has gotten better, we are at least still alive. As long as we continue to draw breath, hope isn't dead yet. Let us continue to wait for this storm to pass, and for life to return to some sort of normalcy. Best of luck to you, and please stay safe. Story 4. Click to play Yes No. Where will you go? An interactive reading experience. A place to share scary stories which contain a set of rules to follow. It's a Friday night and I'm bored out of my mind. My girlfriend ditched me to hang out with her friends, and the boys are all hanging out at some huge frat party. Parties are not exactly my scene, so staying home is an easy choice. Scrolling through some Reddit forums about gaming, I pause when I suddenly get a message from a user that mentions a strange PC game that I've never heard of. I don't recognize the user and the only thing they tell me about the game is that it's made by some indie game developer. There isn't any information about what the game's actually about though, and the title is oddly cryptic, yes/no where will you go? Instantly my interest is piqued. Curiosity bubbles up within me as I look at the download link. I know I shouldn't, but something in me is just dying to see what this is all about. Throwing caution to the wind, I decide to click it. It's not like I've got anything better to do anyways. The moment I do, a kaleidoscope of colors invade my screen, a combination of numbers, ones and twos flying across it so fast that my head is spinning. And then it goes black. I almost think my computer is fried, and worry washes over me like a wave. I built this PC from the ground up. It's one of my most prized possessions. Do you want to play a game? Relief melts into me and instantly, my muscles relaxing, as an uncomfortable little chuckle falls from my lips. Guess I panicked for no reason. That must have just been the game introduction. Sliding back up to the keyboard, I sit there for a moment, studying the white words blinking back at me on the screen. Slowly, my fingers crawl towards the keyboard. Yes, is all I type. For some reason, the response on the other end isn't instant. Perhaps this game is a red flag? But as I sit here, anticipation building, I eagerly watch as the reply glows up at me on the screen. Instead of words, it appears as a long, black box. For some reason, no matter how strange I think this whole thing is, I can't help but be mesmerized. I simply can't bring myself to look away. Clicking on the box, my eyes slowly drink in the words. We will ask you a total of 3 questions before the game concludes. Please read the rules for gameplay below very carefully before proceeding. Once you have read these terms, please reply back by clicking the box beside the corresponding answer, yes or no. Most of the time, I always skip past the rules or briefly scan over them. This time though, I choose to do the latter. 1. All questions are yes or no. These questions are to be answered honestly. If I am lied to, I will know. What happens next will depend on the answer, so we advise that it is chosen carefully. A chuckle escapes my lips at this first rule. So this is what type of game it is. I love a good horror game, especially one that is interactive. It did strike me odd though that it only has 3 questions. Shrugging it off, I moved right along. 2. If the screen suddenly goes black during gameplay, whatever you do, do not look away from it. Wait until the screen flickers and then continue to play the game. Slowly, my brows knit together as I pause for a moment before continuing to read. Okay, the first rule was normal. But this was weird. If you fail to follow this rule, please refer to rule number 5. Raiing. I curse before nearly knocking over my plate of pizza rolls, my girlfriend's name popping up on my phone screen. Taking a moment to calm down, I slide up on the call. Hey, I answer, my lips slowly tugging up into a grin. How's my girl doing tonight? Well, the girls and I are currently sipping on frozen margs and eating chips, guac and queso, so I'd say it's going pretty well. She slurs, something between a hiccup and a giggle crackling over the phone. Apparently she had more than one frozen marg at this point, so maybe she's ready to be picked up? Alley cat, you ready to be picked up or did one of you draw straws on who was going to be the designated driver tonight? Another giggle rumbles over the phone at the nickname she loves so much. Luke, we are perfectly fine. She starts. Kenna hasn't drunk a drop, so I'll be just fine. The second I open my mouth to answer her though, I'm interrupted by a strange little tune and rule number 3 glowing up at me ominously. 3. Do not answer any incoming calls. They are not who you think they are. If you fail to follow this rule, type back sorry, and wait for our confirmation. Instantly, my blood runs cold. I haven't even finished reading the rules and I already broke one? Frustration simmers within me. What the actual? Luke? Alley questions, her voice starting to crackle over the line. Glancing back at rule number 3 and then back at my phone, I wrestle between hanging up or shrugging it off. Except I end up not having to choose, because the line suddenly drops. Shrugging it off, I nervously laugh and toss my phone on my bed before bringing my attention back towards my computer screen. Strange? I couldn't see any more rules past the third one? Reading back over rule number 3, I quickly realize my mistake and begin typing. Sorry. The white cursor on the screen blinks 1, 2, 3 times before an answer finally arrives. You are forgiven. Do not make any more mistakes. You may continue reading. 4. Do not turn off your PC anytime during gameplay. You may not leave the game until it is over with. If you break this rule, immediately slice your left palm open and drip some blood onto the keyboard. This should satisfy the game master. Drip somewhat onto the keyboard? My eyes scan the words again before I notice the next rule. 5. If you've chosen to look away from the screen while it is black, I am not responsible for what you see and what it does to you. The words stare back at me menacingly. Swallowing the lump that begins to form in the back of my throat, I try my best to push down my worry. Looking at the black boxes below, I notice that there are still 2 options though. Yes and no gleam up at me in all caps. Surely this is all just part of the game, right? Either way, I've got to make a choice. My eyes scan over yes and no for only a few moments before I finally decide. Yes, thank you for playing, Luke. Please wait for the first question to appear. There are many other players currently participating in this game. How they choose to answer will affect the outcome. No, I am sad to hear that you don't want to play with me. Unfortunately, your choice to refuse was docked when you broke one of the rules. This is the price to pay for your mistake. So, thank you for playing, Luke. Please wait for the first question to appear. There are many other players currently participating in this game. How they choose to answer will affect the outcome. Worry blooms within me at the words. Who the heck were the other players deciding my outcome? I thought this was a single-player game? The worry that I'm feeling is slowly blossoming into fear, and that only seems to increase when I notice the first question pop up on my screen. 1. Do you think Luke is a good person? Please look at the following file below, and answer and judge him truthfully. What the heck is going on here? This isn't a game at all. Trying to calm my nerves, I close my eyes and take a few deep breaths. There are only 3 questions. I can get through this. Luke's file. Asterisk petty theft charge for stealing from a supermarket at the age of 16. Asterisk DUI charge when he was 22. Asterisk cheated on his ex-girlfriend, who thought the world of him, and is incredibly better looking, to be with his current girlfriend, Allie freckle-faced Fenster. Asterisk hacked into his high school's grad e-book and changed his grades on multiple occasions. Asterisk played a game of poker and gambled a little more money than he had away, so he went into his mother's jewelry cabinet and pawned off some of his deceased grandmother's gold jewelry. Yes, if you choose yes, please skip to the paragraph labeled with a Y. No, if you choose no, please skip to the paragraph labeled with a N. Yes, incorrect. Please do not lie to us. Luke is a terrible person and everyone should know. Why, as I read those words, a chill settles over me. I'll admit, I've made some mistakes. I've done some things I'm not proud of, but I don't think that makes me a terrible person. Whatever this game is, it's cruel and it's sick. How these other players could even make an assumption about my character, or who I am as a person based solely off of my past, makes my stomach churn. What really disturbs me though is the fact that whoever made this, knows so much about me. How in the world did they even know half of these things? The second question number 2 rolls across the screen in front of me though, I can't help but feel even more helpless, my fate in everyone else's hands but my own. No, correct. Luke is a terrible person and everyone should know. Sweat is beating at my brow as I watch the screen blink each time the other players answer. The anticipation is killing me. And then the answer appears and I crumble. Correct. That's not correct, I want to yell. Who the heck are these people to judge the mistakes I've made in the past? We've all done things that we aren't proud of, but you learn from them and move past it. What really disturbs me though is the fact that whoever made this, knew so much about me. How in the world did they even know half of these things? The moment question number 2 rolls across the screen in front of me though, I can't help but feel even more helpless, my fate in everyone else's hands but my own. 2. Do you think Luke deserves mercy and forgiveness, or do you think I should teach him a lesson? Think about your answer very carefully. Teach me a lesson? Who the heck is this person? The more I think about it though, the more I wonder if just maybe no. There's no way. It can't be her, right? My mind wanders back to my crazy ex. Ever since we broke up, Naomi tried everything under the sun to split up Ali and I, and she made my life a living nightmare. Things have settled down since Naomi's passing about 6 months ago, but now that I think back to the Reddit user that messaged me, I can't help but think that something seemed off. Naomi committed suicide. Her family hated me, blaming me for her slow descent into craziness, but what was even more strange was what her sister told me the day of her death. She called me on Naomi's phone and simply said one sentence that shook me to my core. Naomi might not be here physically, but I can promise you that she's here spiritually, and I hope she makes your life a living hell until you actually get there. Shaking the words from my mind, I look back at the question blinking up at me. Do you think Luke deserves mercy and forgiveness, or do you think I should teach him a lesson? Think about your answer very carefully. Yes, incorrect. Luke is a horrible person that deserves horrible things. And karma is here to give it to him. Mercy is only available for those that truly deserve it. Forgiveness is an option, not a requirement. Why, what the heck does she know about mercy? All throughout our relationship she gaslit me into thinking I was the crazy one, so when I finally did bail, she went insane. She slashed my tires, called up to my work 15 times a day, after I blocked her on my personal phone, threw a rock through my bedroom window, TP'd my house, hacked into my social media accounts and left dead chickens on my doorstep with a strange pentagram shape drawn around them in blood. That was the last straw. I'd gotten a restraining order against her, but since she never actually verbally or physically threatened my life, the police didn't give 2 blinks about the situation. Forgiveness is definitely an option, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive her for all the crap she put me through. In fact, as morbid as this sounds, after her death, it was almost like a breath of relief. No, correct. Luke is a horrible person that deserves horrible things. And karma is here to give it to him. Cheaters, stealers, drunkards, and liars don't deserve mercy. They did it to themselves. Now it's time to face the consequences. Forgiveness is an option, not a requirement. Cheaters, stealers, drunkards, and liars, I didn't feel like any of those things fit me anymore. I've cleaned my act up, and those are the last words I want to be associated with. The fact that I'm about to receive some type of karma that she, and random people on the internet feel I deserve, is really sweet coming from a literal psychopath. From the day I broke up with her, she got more than enough revenge by doing anything she could to make me miserable. I'd gotten a restraining order against her, but since she never actually verbally or physically threatened my life, the police didn't give 2 blinks about the situation. Forgiveness is definitely an option, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive her for all the crap she put me through. In fact, as morbid as this sounds, after her death, it was almost like a breath of relief. A few minutes pass, the screen blinking up at me as I bide my time. Something is bound to happen, and sitting here twiddling my thumbs is killing me slowly. But I'm sure that's what she wants. She likes the fact that I'm squirming. That the anticipation of what she's got planned is about to spring into action. And then, as sudden as those thoughts pop into my head, my screen suddenly goes black. With a nervous chuckle, I start to relax, my shoulders slump down and my head falls back against the chair. This is so freaking stupid. What a bunch of baloney. Turning to snatch up my phone, I look at the screen and see a single notification glowing up at me. Probably just Ali needing to be picked up. With a tap, I open it and nearly choke on my own breath. Luke, the rules were simple. Goosebumps climb over my arms, racing across my skin like tiny bugs. My eyes scan the rest of the words, my hands shaking so hard I'm afraid I'll drop the phone. Tisk tisk, you forgot rule number 2. If the screen goes black, do not look away from the screen. And that's when I see it. In the reflection of my phone screen, something monstrously tall is hovering over me like a shadow. I bristle, my eyes clenching shut when I feel its rancid breath blow against my neck, its words a mere whisper in my ear. Mercy is something earned, not something given. Ice-cold terror grips me, keeping me stuck in place when all I want to do is run. Slowly, my phone falls from my grasp and my hands fall to my sides, my eyes wide and horrified when I look up at the mirror in front of me and see this thing in all its glory. A large black hood is draped over its head, and both of its hands have sharpened claws. Quietly, I manage to move my lips enough to mumble out a question. Who are you? I ask, my voice wavering. It only says 2 sentences. I have many names, but you can just call me Karma. Its voice is sinister, and I can't help but notice millions of sharpened teeth peek out at me as its lips curl up into a wicked smile. Now that you've played yes/no, where will you go? Suddenly it pauses and then taps one long claw on my shoulder before saying, where do you think you should go? My voice trails off, a whisper in my throat before I finally utter, karma is a circle, right? Do good and good comes back to you. Do bad and bad comes back. The creature nods its head knowingly, and so I continue. So, I'll just tell Naomi that I'm sorry for what I've done to hurt her. With a nod, the creature lays a hand on my shoulder and simply says, that would be great if you meant it. What comes around goes around, and when the time is right, you will burn for all your wrongs. Walking towards the window, the creature snaps its fingers, the pain shimmering and then combusting, glass shards shattering my room. It climbs up on the windowsill and turns to me with a sinister grin before it hisses out, Naomi says hello with a leap. He disappears from view. Hurriedly, I ran over to the window and looked out, but the creature had vanished. The only thing left of him was a whisper floating in the air. And she's saving a nice warm spot in hell for you. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.